Resident Evil 705 Village 74 Code Veronica.
Hi, it's Aladdin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are about to embark on a spine-chilling journey through the dark corridor of survival horror. From the twisted streets of Raccoon City, the haunting halls of the Spencer Mansion, and those desolate landscapes that echo with fear around the globe. Resident Evil isn't just a game, it's an immersive plunge into madness, a gripping saga that spans decades of terror. But I must confess, sharing my top 10 Resident Evil game is riskier than trying to escape Nemesis with a sprained ankle. Opinions in this passionate fan community can be as unpredictable as a liquor in a caffeine binge. Some of you might think I've been infected with the T-virus for my choices. But hey, what you'll hear is my genuine perspective, crafted from years of experience and deep affection for the series. From its debut on the original PlayStation to its latest incarnations, Resident Evil has been more than just entertainment. It's been my lifeline to adrenaline-fueled excitement and heart-pounding fear. Each installment pushes the boundaries of terror, immersing me in a world where every shadow conceals a new nightmare, and every decision is a test of my resolve. So brace yourself, ready your magnum, because what lies ahead is a nightmare you won't want to miss. Grab your flashlight, and let's dive in. Resident Evil 0. While it might not be the crowning jewel of the series, it holds a crucial spot as a prelude to the chaos that unfolds in the Resident Evil universe. This is where the lore begins, setting the stage for everything that follows. One of Resident Evil 0's standout features is its innovative partner system. The ability to control two characters simultaneously, Rebecca Chamber and Billy Cohen, adds a unique layer of strategy. You can freely switch between them using their strengths to cover each other's weaknesses. This dynamic partnerships keeps you constantly engaged, requiring you to think critically and plan your moves carefully. For instance, Rebecca's expertise in mixing herbs and Billy boosting offer complementary skills that are vital for survival. Moreover, the cutscenes featuring series antagonists Albert Wesker and William Perkins provide a richer narrative depth. These scenes give us a glimpse into Wesker's malevolent plans and Perkins' scientific ambition, adding a sense of foreboding that enrich the overall storyline. The game's storytelling is enhanced by these insights, which connect deeply to the main series plotline. However, Resident Evil 0 isn't without its shortcomings. The storyline occasionally veers into the realm of the absurd, particularly the main antagonist's ability to control leeches by singing opera. This element feels more cartoonish than terrifying, detracting from the intended horror experience. Another notable flaw is the absence of item boxes, especially after the intense train sequence. This design choice complicates inventory management, making it a cumbersome task to giggle up your items. It's a decision that amplifies the game's difficulty, ranking it as one of the most challenging in the franchise. Veterans of the series will find themselves tested by the lack of convenience. Rebecca Chambers' characterization is also inconsistent with her portrayal on Resident Evil 1. In 0, she is depicted as agile and badass, which contradicts the vulnerable and inexperienced Rebecca we encounter later. This inconsistency can be jarring for longtime fans. Despite these issues, Resident Evil 0 earns its place on this list due to its unique gameplay mechanics and its pivotal role in the series' lore. The strategic partner system and the deeper narrative insights into Wesker's plans are elements that no other entry replicates quite as effectively. It's these features that anchor its significance in the Resident Evil saga. Ultimately, it doesn't rank higher due to its cartoonish elements and frustration inventory management. Perhaps a future remake could refine these aspects, solidifying its legacy in the Resident Evil series.
No thanks.
Thanks, Dollface.
Resident Evil 7.
Let me be clear, this ranking doesn't imply that Resident Evil 7 is a bad game. On the contrary, it stands as one of the scariest entries in the series. However, certain elements prevent it from scoring higher. First, let me dive into what I love about this game. Resident Evil 7 excels in delivering jump scares and horror elements, largely thanks to the terrifying Baker family and the power of the re-engine. The Bakers are not just villainous figures, they are the embodiment of relentless, twisted horror that keep you on edge from start to finish. Take for example the encounter with Jake Baker in the garage, where he relentlessly pursues you with a shovel, creating an intense, heart-pounding chase. The first-person perspective, while different from the over-the-shoulder camera or the fixed perspective in the classic, works remarkably well here, intensifying the immersion and dread. You experience every horrifying moment through Ethan's eyes, such as when Margaret Baker's lantern light creeps into a dark room, casting eerie shadows and heightening your anxiety. The environment design is another standout feature, with its expertly crafted lighting and shadow creating a gloomy, oppressive atmosphere that never let you feel safe. However, there are aspects that hold this game back from climbing higher on the list. First and foremost, the game is quite short, leaving me yearning for more. The main storyline can be completed relatively quickly, making the overall experience feel brief compared to other entries in the series. Secondly, the variety of enemy is disappointingly small, which can make encounters feel repetitive. Most of your foes are molded creatures, and while terrifying at first, they lack the diversity seen in other Resident Evil games, which featured a wider range of monsters adversaries. The virus development in Resident Evil 7 also veer the game more toward a Silent Hill vibe than a traditional Resident Evil experience. Ethan Winters, our protagonist, often feels too vulnerable compared to the seasoned heroes we used to control in the series. His vulnerability, while adding to the horror, detracts from the sense of empowerment and resilience typically felt. For instance, Ethan's frequent groans and panicking reactions during encounter highlight his everyman status, which, while relatable, can feel less satisfying than playing as a more capable character. The inclusion of Chris Redfield in the DLC and his role in the story was another misstep. His appearance felt forced and out of place, disrupting the game's unique atmosphere and his pivotal role on the franchise. Ultimately, while Resident Evil 7 is one of the best horror games produced in the industry, it lacks the bioterrorism elements and strong connection to the Breeder franchise. The main antagonists, the Baker's family, are infected by a mold that acts more like a supernatural curse than a traditional bioorganic weapon. This shift moves away from the familiar narrative of viral outbreaks caused by corporations like Umbrella. Additionally, the game's setting in a remote Louisiana plantation house feels disconnected from the global stakes and conspiracies typically felt in the series, which further alienates us from the core elements. I know many would argue with Resident Evil 1, but that was the first, and this one is the 7th entry. Things are different. The absence of familiar enemies such as zombies and iconic bioweapons further alienates it from a core element that defines Resident Evil. Ethan Winters' story, while initially compelling, contradicts itself. His vulnerability as an everyman contrasts sharply with his determined and almost emotionless quest to rescue his wife, Mia, despite the horrific events and lack of genuine emotional connection between them. For example, Ethan's willingness to wade through the unimaginable horror to save Mia seems at odds with the flat emotional delivery and limited backstory we get about their relationship. These deviations makes Resident Evil 7 feel like a side story rather than a continuation of the franchise's central theme. Despite its standout horror elements and innovative gameplay, it doesn't fully capture the essence of what makes Resident Evil Resident Evil.
Welcome to the family, son.
Evil 6.
Oh, Resident Evil 6. You know, this game is like a wild rollercoaster ride. It got its highs, its lows, and a few twists that leave you scratching your head. It's a bold entry in the series that both captivates and confounds, leaving a lasting impact on anyone who plays it. Things I love. The ambitious scope of storytelling. The game features 4 intertwining campaigns. It's like they serve as Resident Evil in a smoothie form. Leon's navigating a zombie-infested university in Tall Oaks. Chris is dealing with his PTSD while kicking butts and crushing bones. Ada's sneaking around and rivaling conspiracies. And Sherry Perkins is back, grown up and ready to fight. Each campaign brings something fresh to the table, making the narrative structure both complex and engaging. Ada Wong's campaigns is astounding. Seriously, her segments are compelling and memorable. I love her story, and putting her character in the antagonist role with Carla was a great addition to the story. Plus her connection and reunion with Leon after so long was a fantastic fanservice. Ada's arc from ruthless, enigmatic Asian to an emotional, angry human being seeking to put an end to Carla and Simmons' schemes is one of the best character development in the series. The final scene where Ada confronts and shoots the newly emerged Carla, stating we're beyond sympathy at this point, is chilling and powerful. It is one of the best scenes in the Resident Evil history. Pierce's character arc is one of the most compelling aspects of Chris's campaign. His loyalty, bravery, and ultimate sacrifice resonate deeply, making his storyline one of the most memorable in the game. His selflessness is reminiscent of Steve Perdisi's tragic sacrifice in Resident Evil Code Veronica, where personal heroism meets an untimely end. The Redfield siblings, Chris and Claire, are in the heart of some of the most tragic moments in the Resident Evil universe. From Chris's struggle and losses in Resident Evil 6 to Claire's harrowing experience, they embody the emotional core of the series. Their stories are woven with sacrifice, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Chris's heartbreak after losing Pierce echoes Claire's sorrowing over Steve's sacrifice, underscoring the heavy burden they carry and the emotional depth of their journeys. The action sequences in Resident Evil 6 are, just insane. From the dark subways to the chaotic streets of China, the gameplay is always fresh and exciting, and the combat mechanics sleek and responsive. Every encounter keeps you on your toes. But there are things I could do with that. Here's the thing. Resident Evil 6 leans more toward action than horror. Sure, there are creepy moments, but they are often overshadowed by explosive set pieces. For example, Leon's campaign was supposed to reflect this, but the boss fights like Simmons and the constant battle with the Ostenak feels more like action movie scenes than true survival horror showdowns. It's a bit of a bummer if you're in it for the scares. Is this game still even considered a horror game? Remember the nail-biting tension of counting your bullets and conserving your health? Well, that's pretty much gone, because here you're often swimming in ammo supplies, which takes away from the survival aspect. Then there's Jack Miller's superhuman abilities. They feel kinda out of place. His skills clash with the more grounded abilities of characters like Leon and Chris, which disrupt the game's balance and thematic consistency. And honestly, while the build-up of Jack's character and his relationship with his father, Wesker, was intriguing, his role in the story felt forced and just didn't hit the mark. I know, the story is ambitious but overly backed. It sometimes feels repetitive, especially during character intersections, that disrupts the narrative flow, and the ending fragmented into unique conclusion for each character, lacking the cohesive resolution we've seen in earlier titles. Helena Harper, while an okay character, doesn't quite measure up to the iconic Resident Evil roster. I don't like her character, shape, form, or role in the story. Lynn should have been paired with a more profound characters like Jill, Claire, or even Sherry, which would have created a more dynamic and compelling duo. Alternatively, leaving Leon alone to tackle up his mission might have highlighted his character even more. Despite these criticisms, the emotional core of Resident Evil 6 remains strong. The characters struggle, their bounds, and the relentless fight against bioterrorism resonate deeply. Leon's unyielding determination, Chris's battle with his personal demon, and Ada's enigmatic presence all contributed to a rich, emotional tapestry. These characters are not just fighting monsters, they're battling their personal bosses and the weight of their pasts. Why number 8 on my list? Well, Resident Evil 6 earns a spot because it swings for the fence with its ambitious scope and emotional depth. It's got its flaws, but the intricate narrative and the character-driven stories offer a unique alibi-device experience in the Resident Evil series. Despite its shortcomings, it's a bold and memorable entry that stands out in the franchise. The Resident Evil universe is about heroes facing insurmountable odds, and this entry, while it might stray too far from the horror roads, captures the essence of heroism so well. I know, it's not perfect, but oh man, it's an unforgettable ride. To the next one.
Never had a mission so easy.
Come here! Hurry! We have to move! Get the hell off! I can't right now! Give me a minute! You alright?
You had me worried there. Everything okay? Good to see you made it back.
Captain! Hey! Captain! I heard you the first time! Take it easy, will ya? Damn it, now's not a good time!
Nice!
Okay, let's move!
Now's not the best time.
Piers! Hey! Piers! No! I need help here!
Sorry, you're on your own. You're dealing with pros here.
I'm glad you're here.
Are you kidding?
See you dead.
Beautiful.
Oh, that was no fun.
Beautiful.
You don't need to say it twice.
I know already. Hey, relax, okay?
Relax, you'll live longer.
Check and mate, buddy.
I'm tougher than I look.
Are you mental?
You don't have time for this!
Get it, okay? Relax.
Oh, what a relief.
No! Elena!
Can't it wait? I'm coming.
Nice.
This is a waste of time.
Resident Evil 5.
Many might be surprised to see Resident Evil 5 holding the 7th spot, but this is truly how I feel after my journey through this game. It's a roller coaster of emotion, both awe and frustration, which make it unforgettable. First, let's dive into what makes this game so gripping. The rivalry between Chris Redfield and Albert Wesker is nothing short of electrifying. Their intense enmity drives the narrative with a furious, palpable energy. Chris and Wesker's final showdown on the volcano is a climax for the ages. I mean, who can forget the sheer absurdity of Chris punching a boulder to save Sheva? It's so cheesy, it's almost iconic. Seriously, who does that? It's like Chris saw a boulder and thought, I forgot to hit the gym today. You know what this needs? A good punching. Then there's Exiligione, the famed idol of the game. Her striking appearance and seductive demeanor adds a layer of sophistication and danger to the story. Her dynamic with Wesker is both intriguing and chilling. For instance, when Wesker called the injector with the Ouroboros virus after she outlives her usefulness, it showcases his ruthless pragmatism and her tragic downfall. It's a powerful moment that underscores the high stakes and the dark tone of the narrative. And you know, seeing her transformation, yikes, talk about a bad day at the office. Replayability and action. Resident Evil 5 also shines with its replayability. The game's action-packed sequence like the adrenaline-pumping boat chase through the swamps keeps you on edge of your seat. Scenes like the intense battle against the executioner Magini and the relentless onslaughts in the underground labs focus heavily on action, emphasizing the game shift towards more action-oriented gameplay. It's like they took all the explosive set pieces from an action movie and crammed them into a game. You know, this kind of stuff that makes you go, oh come on, this is insane, but in the best way possible. However, there are reasons why Resident Evil 5 doesn't climb higher on my list. The Lost Nightmare segment is a prime example. This part where Chris and Jill explore a creepy mansion perfectly captures the atmospheric horror that fans love. It should have been the prologue, setting darker, more foreboding tone to the game. Starting with this would have balanced the action and horror elements more effectively. Imagine kicking off with a classic horror vibe before diving into action. Talk about setting the stage. Jill Valentine's role in the story, while significant, feels underwhelming. As a brainwashed pound of whisker, her character deserves more screen time and a deeper involvement. The reveal of her brainwashing is very impactful, but the game doesn't fully capitalize on her potential, leaving me wanting more from this beloved character. And honestly, who wouldn't want more Jill? She's like the Beyoncé of Resident Evil. Imagine if Jill been giving the spotlight like Scarlett Johansson in action, total showstopper material. The game's brevity is another issue. It ends too soon, with the final chapter rushing through the climax. The intense build-up deserves a more extended, satisfying resolution that delves deeper into the characters and their stories. It's like getting to the end of the roller coaster ride and realizing it was just a kiddie version. Then there is a shift toward fast-paced, action-heavy gameplay, Call of Duty style. Racing through the desert, battling enemies with high-speed chases, and dodging explosives is exhilarating, but it sometimes overshadows the horror elements that defines the Resident Evil series or the survival themes. It's like going from the hunting house to an action movie marathon. Both fun, but totally very different vibes. And let's not forget about the infamous Boulder Banshee sequence. While it's become a meme-worthy moment, it epitomizes the game's sometimes cheesy, over-the-top nature. The scenes, while entertaining, highlights the game's departure for more grounded horror from its predecessors. And really, Chris, a boulder? Even Heisenberg calls Chris a boulder banshee. That's gotta stink a bit. Shiva's AI, often a source of frustration, detracts from the experience. She can make poor decisions at crucial moments, like wasting healing items and failing to assist in combat. This is something I hope a future remake will improve, fully realizing her character's potential. Come on Shiva, you're better than that. The shift to action. Resident Evil 5 is a game of contrasts. It blends intense action with deep emotional ties, but sometimes strays so far from its horror roots. The shift in gameplay and tone significantly influenced Resident Evil 6, which leaned even more heavily into action and ultimately failed to meet our expectations. It's like they said, how much action can we cram up? And then went a bit over the board. Dang. Despite its flaws, the powerful dynamic between its characters and the unforgettable moments of tension and triumph ensure Resident Evil 5 remains etched in my memory. It might not reach the pinnacle of the series, but it holds a unique and emotional place within my heart, serving as both a memorable entry and a cautionary tale for the franchise. So yeah, it's like a wild roller coaster you can't help but laugh, even when it makes you scream.
Resident Evil Village.
Resident Evil 8 takes us on a breathtaking journey through horror, mystery, and raw emotion. It's a title that pushes the boundaries of the franchise while staying true to its roots. First, let's explore the elements that makes Resident Evil 8 exceptional. The environment design in this game is nothing short of spectacular. From the towering Gothic castle of Lady Dimitrescu to the hauntingly desolate village, every location is crafted with incredible details, creating an immersive world that's both beautiful and terrifying. Ethan Winters returns as the protagonist, and this time, his character is more fleshed out and compelling. His struggle to rescue his daughter, Rose, adds a deeply personal and emotional layer to the story. Interestingly, the Rose DLC surpasses the main campaign, offering a rich and engaging narrative that enhances the overall experience. Rose is more likable and engaging because we experience her struggle from the time she was a baby. We know her face compared to the faceless Ethan. Does he even exist? The bosses and the monsters design are standout features, each one bringing a unique brand of terror and challenge. Lady Dimitrescu, with her towering presence and charisma, has become an iconic figure in the series. Implementing a giant woman as a central antagonist could have felt gimmicky, but instead it is executed flawlessly, adding to the game allure. The other lords, Heisenberg, Marot, and Bonaventure, each bring their own distinct flavor of horror, making every encounter unpredictable and thrilling. Although I love Mother Miranda's design, it fell short in terms of connecting the story to the main Umbrella bioorganic weapons, and the origin of the main viruses created by the Spencer Company. The idea of her being a precursor feels disconnected and unconvincing, and I didn't like it. However, Resident Evil 8 isn't without its flaws. The relationships between the bosses sometimes come off as cartoonish. I know it's a Resident Evil theme, but this detracts from the overall sense of dread. The dialogue, particularly in key moments, is another area where the game fell short. When Chris Redfield kills Mia and kidnaps Rose without explanation, the eventual reasoning provided later feels cheesy and unconvincing. Chris's role in the game is poorly defined, leaving me questioning his true intention and involvement. Ethan's sacrifice at the end, while intended to be a poignant moment, feels unnecessary and poorly executed. Ethan Winters, despite being the central character, is often seen as the weakest link. His character development and dialogue do not resonate as strongly as those of the other protagonists in the series. Additionally, the frequent and bizarre damage to Ethan's hands became a distracting and somewhat improbable motive throughout the game, further diminishing his believability as a character, although they put some explanation to try to explain the things, which didn't even convince me. In contrast, we have Rose. She emerged as a more engaging and sympathetic figure, making her segment even more compelling. Furthermore, while the enemies are visually impressive, their behaviors and design sometimes fall short. Some enemies feel repetitive, lacking the unique, terrifying traits that makes the encounter memorable. The game's relentless action can overshadow the carefully crafted horror elements, creating an imbalance that detracts from the tension. Despite these criticisms, the emotional impact of Resident Evil 8 is undeniable. Ethan's journey is one of sacrifice, determination, and love. The bond he formed with his daughter, even in the face of the unimaginable horror, is deeply moving. The game's conclusion, while bittersweet, leaves a lasting impression, solidifying Ethan's place in the Resident Evil legacy. While Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 focus more on heroism and action, Resident Evil Village shines by implementing fair and scary elements. The atmosphere of the village is immersive and true to the series' horror roots. The gothic and the eerie setting that evoke a sense of dread and suspense. The terrifying sequences, such as the mannequin chase and the Gravy Baby segment, are a masterclass in horror design that kept me on the edge of my seat. The game's balance, horror, exploration, and action, maintaining a survival horror experience that defines the franchise. Resident Evil games must be scary as hell, but they need to be more connected to the main plot, and this is the reason Village couldn't climb higher on this list. Resident Evil 8 earns its place at number 6 on my list because of its fleshed out level design. Whether in the eerie village, the mysterious gothic castle, or the factory, which connects deeply to the main amazing entries in the series such as Resident Evil 4 and Code Veronica. The boss fight system was cohesive and impactful, offering thrilling encounters that tested both skills and strategy, while the survival elements were executed well throughout the game. The last sequence felt somewhat unbalanced, detracting from the overall experience. Despite being less scary overall, the game perfectly captured the fear and survival elements, with some areas feel more frightening, particularly in the Rose DLC, with segments like the mannequin chase and the Crazy Baby sequence on the main campaign. The mythological enemy design suggests the series is heading in a new direction, moving away from bioorganic weapons and the mutated creatures. This evolution will likely become clearer with the release of Resident Evil 9. The Rose DLC surpasses the main campaign, offering a richer and more engaging narrative experience that showcases the potential for deeper storytelling within the Resident Evil universe. Both Resident Evil Village and 7 may have changed the core plot for the Resident Evil franchise from bioorganic mutated creatures by lab to psychological and natural curses by a witch. That's the only fitting word for Miranda, and I didn't like it. Both games are fine on their own. They look gorgeous, and I love Village more due to its connections to some survival elements. As a fan, I love this franchise, and I'm not against change or forceful, classic thematic to kill modernity in this franchise. We've had Resident Evil 4, for example, which dramatically changed the franchise from every angle, but the core was still Resident Evil. So please, for the next one, Resident Evil 9, we need it to be scary, gruesome, and even with the new ideas, it should hold a very powerful connection to the source material.
Careful what you wish for, Ethan Winter. Ethan Winter escaped.
I've done it, yeah, this is the one.
Heisenberg. Because he is in my castle and is only too much for my daughters to handle. When I find him... No. Miranda? Yes, of course, I understand the importance of the ceremony. I won't let you down. Hell with the ceremony!
Before I delve into the top 5 games on the list, I want to highlight some honorable mentions that, while not make the cut, still left a significant impact on me. Resident Evil Revelations. This game stands out as one of the most difficult entries I've ever played. The story was gripping, and the variety of gameplay elements was unique, and also the variety of enemies was very interesting. However, despite these strengths, I didn't feel a strong connection to the main Resident Evil universe, despite the involvement of important characters such as Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. The story elements, while engaging, didn't quite measure up to the previous titles in the series. Resident Evil Revelation 2. It was thrilling to play as Claire again after she's been left in the shadows for so many years. The story showed great promise, especially with the involvement of Barry, another beloved but forgotten character from the classic Resident Evil games. Yet the episodic format hindered my experience, making it feel disjointed, and the gameplay and monsters designs fell short compared to earlier titles. I was truly about to involve Revelation 2 on the list, but the partner system in Zero edges out. Resident Evil Outbreak. This game was ambitious, attempting to bring Resident Evil experience to online multiplayer format, something similar to the reverse we have today. The concept of surviving alongside other players in the midst of a viral outbreak was innovative. The scenarios, such as trying to escape the zombie-infested Raccoon City in Outbreak and File 2, offered a fresh perspective on the chaos. However, technical limitations and the lack of cohesive narrative made it difficult to fully connect with the broader Resident Evil lore. I love Outbreak Files as an online experience, and I hope they bring it back in the future in the form of a remake. The Chronicle series. These games were incredible in revealing many stories throughout the main series. However, most of the content felt repetitive and didn't add much to the core entry of the series. Despite their ability to fill some gaps, they didn't reflect their quality to be part of this list. Other games won't make it into the list because they felt like half-baked games, experience, or poorly executed projects like I didn't enjoy. While these titles had their moments, they ultimately didn't resonate with me as deeply as the top entries on my list.
Resident Evil.
Now we have the game that started all, Resident Evil 1. Both the original and the remake holds a special place in my heart, each offering a unique experience that had shaped the series in a profound ways. The original Resident Evil, released in 1996, introduced us to the world of survival horror, set in the eerie Spencer mansion. The game plunged players into a nightmarish scenario filled with puzzles, limited resources, and terrifying creatures. Players encounter the role of Wesker, Barry, and Rebecca firsthand, each character bringing their own strength and motivation into the mix. Wesker's enigmatic presence, Barry's memorable line like, "You were almost a Joe sandwich," Rebecca's determination to survive added a layer of intrigue and depth to the narrative. Lisa Trevor in the remake, with her tragic backstory revealed through scattering notes and journal entries, added an emotional weight to the her that lingered long after the game was finished. What stands out the most about the original Resident Evil is its atmosphere. The haunting soundtrack, the creaking of the mansion's floorboards, and the distant moans of the undead created an ambience of dread that few games have matched since. Exploring the dimly lit corridor and solving intricate puzzles such as finding the hidden emblems to unlock doors keep players on edge of their seats. The iconic scenes of encountering the classic scene of entering the dining room and being greeted by the lifeless eyes of the first zombies encounter is etched into the memories of everyone who played the game, amplifying the game's ability to evoke fear through its atmosphere alone. The characters Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine become iconic figures in the gaming world, each bringing their own strengths and weaknesses to the fight for survival. Chris's proficiency with weapons and physical strength contrasts Jill's lockpicking skills and resourcefulness, providing players with different gameplay experience depending on their choice of character. Their interaction with the other survivors and the gradual uncovering of the mansion secrets added depth to the story, while it was very simple and kept players engaging throughout the game duration. Resident Evil 1 lays the foundation of the series, and the combination of the innovative gameplay, a gripping story, and an atmosphere dripping with tension ends the number 5 spot on my list. It's a testament to the game's enduring appeal that decades later it still has the power to terrify and captivate players around the world. The remake expanded on the original story, adding new areas to explore, additional puzzles, and even more horrifying enemies. The introduction of the Crimson Head, zombies that could resurrect stronger and faster, added a new layer of strategy and terror. The character models and voice accents were vastly improved, making Chris and Jill O'Deal even more immersive. However, despite its timeless qualities, there's no denying that Resident Evil 1 could benefit from a re-engine treatment. While the gameplay and the atmosphere remains compelling, the graphics and controls have begun to show their age. A remake using the latest technology in the form of the re-engine could breathe new life into the game, allowing a new generation of players to experience the terror of the Spencer Mansion in stunning details. Additionally, revisiting this game with modern sensibilities could provide an opportunity to further explore the characters and lore, enhancing the overall experience for longtime fans and newcomers alike.
Hey, Wesker, where's Chris?
Chris, meanwhile. Rebecca, don't you ever play piano again?
Oh, what was that?
When they meet again.
Wesker. So you've come. Chris, you make me proud. Of course you are one of mine.
Thanks. Wesker. Son of a bitch!
In another part of the mansion.
The door's jammed!
Stand back!
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Well, what do you know?
Resident Evil 3.
Both the original and its jaw-dropping remake. This entry in the series is a roller coaster of adrenaline, with its mix of intense action, nerve-wracking chases, and a story that grips you from start to finish. Raccoon City is overrun by the T-Virus, and you, as Jill Valentine, are fighting tooth and nail to survive. But there's something else out there, something relentless and terrifying. The Nemesis. The monstrous bioweapon is hot on your heels, and every encounter is a heart-stopping struggle to stay alive. Things I love: visual and audio design, Seriously, the graphic in the remake are next level. Raccoon City has never looked so good. And the sound design, it's like they dialed up the terror to 11. Every creak, every groan, it all adds to the sense of embodying doom. Jill Valentine is the star of the show here. And oh boy, does she shine. You feel her fear, her determination, her every emotion. And let's not forget Carlos Oliveira. He's not just a sidekick. He's got his own story to tell, and it's one you won't soon forget. Plus, can we talk about their designs? Jill tactical, Gary sleek and practical, while Carlos' wrecked look perfectly complements his no-nonsense attitude. Intense action and combat. This isn't a stroll in the park. It's a fight for survival. The combat mechanics are sleek, control responsive, and that dodge mechanic is a game changer, turning every encounter to a pulse-pounding dance of life and death. The expanded hospital sequence. One word. It was intense. The new hospital sequence with Carlos adds a whole new layer of terror to the game. It's dark, it's gritty, and it's exactly what you'd expect from Resident Evil game. Nemesis. Yeah, the stuff of nightmare. He's relentless, he's terrifying, and he's always one step behind you. Whether he's bursting through walls or wielding a rocket launcher, every encounter with the Nemesis is a heart-pounding showdown you won't soon forget. But there are things I could do with that. Nemesis encounters. Now, don't get me wrong, Nemesis is still scary as hell, but in a remake, his appearance feels a little too scripted, a little too predictable. It takes away some of the thrills of the chase, you know? Like we encounter with Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. The removed clock tower sequence. The clock tower. It was iconic in the original. A real highlight of the game. So why did they cut it from the remake? They put it there. It's a real messed up opportunity, if you ask me. Shorter campaign. The remake campaign is over before you know it, leaving you wanting more. And while I'm all for quality over quantity, I still feel like they could have added a bit more meat to the story. Dialogue and story. Some of the dialogue feels a bit off, you know? Like it's trying hard to be cool or something. And the story, while gripping, it has few loose ends that could have used some tying up. Resident Evil 3 is a thrill right from start to finish, whether you're playing the original or the remake. It got everything you could want from a survival horror game. Action, suspense, and more scares than you can shake a stick at. Why number 4 on my list? Well, despite its flaws, Resident Evil 3 scores higher than the original for a few reasons. First and foremost, the Nemesis. It is the definition of survival horror, keeping you at bay from start to finish. Jill is way stronger than the Rocky we encounter in the mansion, and Raccoon City is a bigger stage for this epic showdown. Sure, the remake might have felt like a DLC to Resident Evil 2, but let's not forget that the original was also small in comparison. This game is fast-paced, with Nemesis relentlessly chasing through every twist and turn.
Sorry, wrong CD.
Walker's still alive. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
Whoa.
Look, just so you know, this is the last fucking time. I am sick of your shit!
Resident Evil 2.
This game is not only defines the survival horror genre but also sets a new standard with its groundbreaking remake. Both versions hold a special place in the franchise's history, each offering a unique and an unforgettable experience. Released in 1998, The original Resident Evil 2 expanded the universe introduced in the first game, plunging players into the heart of Raccoon City zombie apocalypse, playing as either Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie cop, or Claire Redfield, a college student searching for her brother Chris, navigating the treacherous streets and buildings of a city in chaos. The original Resident Evil 2 excelled in its atmosphere and storytelling. The game's narrative was compelling, with intertwining storylines and multiple perspectives that added depth to the unfolding horror. The Raccoon City Police Department RPD serves as a memorable backdrop, with its intricate level design and oppressive atmosphere, contributing to the game's tension. Iconic moments such as the first encounter with the Licker or the relentless pursuit by Mr. X are etched into the memories of many players who experienced the game's chilling suspense. Fast forward to 2019, and Capcom released the Resident Evil 2 remake, a true reinvention of the series. While Resident Evil 7 marked a significant shift in the perspective and tone, it was the Resident Evil 2 remake that perfectly balanced innovation and nostalgia, breathing new life into the franchise. The remake retained the essence of the original while enhancing every aspect of the game. The over-the-shoulder camera and modernized controls provide a fresh yet familiar experience, blending the best of survival horror and action. The graphics were nothing short of stunning, with the re-engine bringing the devastating Raccoon City to life in breathtaking details. Every dark corner, flickering lights, and grotesque enemy was rendered with an intensity that elevates the horror to a new heights. Story-wise, the remake stayed true to the original but added depth and nuance to its characters. Leon's and Claire's harrowing journey through the RPD and beyond was more immersive than ever, with improved voice acting and character development that made their struggle feel real and arrogant. The interactions between characters such as Leon's budding relationship with Ada Wong and Claire's protective instincts toward Cherry Birkin were more emotionally impactful. Level and environment design were masterfully crafted in the remake. The RPD was more detailed and labyrinthine, filled with puzzles that paid homage to the original while introducing new challenges. The sewers and the underground lab added a layer of dread and complexity, making explorations a nerve-wracking experience. The character design in the remake was superb. Leon and Claire were reimagined with modern sensibilities, retaining the iconic look while updating the appearance to be more realistic and relatable. The bosses, from the terrifying mutated William Birkin to the relentless Mr. X, were more menacing than ever. Each encounter was a test of strategy and nerve, pushing players to their limit. Enemies were redesigned with a terrifying level of detail. Zombies were more unpredictable and dangerous, their grotesque appearances enhanced by the re-engined graphical prowess. The Lickers were faster and more horrifying, making their presence a constant threat. And Mr. X, with his unyielding pursuit and an intimidating presence, became a symbol of the game's relentless tension. Resident Evil 2 sits at the third spot for some reasons. First, Leon and Claire's abilities. While they were iconic, there's nothing wrong with it within this game. Leon and Claire's ability were somewhat limited compared to their more experienced selves in later games. Second, Ada's ending in the Resident Evil 2 felt like Capcom was teasing us with a they won, they romance plot that never quite reached the wedding bell. Come on Capcom, just get them married already. Rumors are swirling that Leon might meet an untamely end in Resident Evil 9. What a missed opportunity, they didn't tie the knot in Resident Evil 6.
A ring?
Hunk Mission. The forced survival mode was thrilling, but we were left wanting more backstory. Like a prequel episode showing how Hunk Giggle saved the world with his day job as a zombie virus delivery guy. Hopefully they save it for later and not fumble it like they did with Operation Raccoon City. Those guys couldn't find their way out of the maze, even if you give them a map and a flashlight. Resident Evil 2, both in the original form and its masterful remake, is a testament to the enduring appeal and innovation on the series. Its place at number 3 on my list is a reflection to its perfect balance of horror, action, and storytelling, qualities that have cemented its legacy as an annal of the gaming history. The fleshed out areas of Raccoon City and the intricacy it evokes in level design, though seemingly simple, are deeply intertwining with the tapestry of Resident Evil lore. Character development were more nuanced than older games, and the balance between horror and survival elements was impeccably executed.
In another universe.
Hold
do this?
I'm so sorry.
No!
We really gotta stop meeting like this.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I take it you don't have the key.
No, I don't. It's good to see your face, though. Hell of a night, huh?
Yeah. We're just, well, we actually just met last night.
Yeah. That would have been one hell of a first date, though.
God damn it, Leon!
Resident Evil Code Veronica.
I know, this choice might surprise many, but it truly reflects my admiration for the underrated masterpiece. Although Nemesis was crowned as a third installment in the series, Code Veronica is a perfect continuation of Resident Evil 2's legacy. It feels like the true sequel, picking up where the story left off and pushing the boundaries of survival horror even further. Though often seen as controversial, Code Veronica delves into the darkest corners of Resident Evil universe, delivering a narrative that stands for its complexity and intensity. As we navigate the twisted corridors of the Ashford state and explore the treacherous dynamic between the Redfield sibling and the Ashford family, we find ourselves immersed in a story that is as compelling as it's horrifying. One of the most striking aspects of Code Veronica is the intricate relationships it portrays. The bond between Claire and Chris Redfield is put to test as they confront the sinister forces at play. The complex dynamic between Claire and Steve Pernicize adds a layer of emotional depth, while the web of animosity between Chris and the malevolent Albert Wesker keeps player on edge. This game is a true testament to the power of storytelling in the Resident Evil franchise, making it a journey worth revisiting. Things I love: the story depth and the themes of family and legacy. Code Veronica delves deeper into the Ashford family's twisted dynamics, particularly the complex relationship between Alfred and Alexia. Claire and Chris Redfield's relentless pursuit against Umbrella Corporation amplifies the intensity of the narrative. The Ashford family's descended into madness serves as a cautionary tale of ambition within the Resident Evil universe, contrasting with Claire and Chris's resilience found that shines amid its adversity. Claire Redfield emerged as a resilient protagonist, driven by the unwavering determination on Rockford Island. Chris Redfield's arrival heightens tension, while Steve Pernicize's tragic arcs adds emotional depth. His heartfelt confession to Claire before his demise enhances the narrative's emotional impact, atmosphere, and setting. The eerie gothic ambience of the Ashford state and the perilous Rockford Island creating a chilling backdrop. Code Veronica comes closest to the atmosphere in the 1998 classic Resident Evil than any other entry in the franchise. The meticulously crafted environments, from the haunting Ashford mansion to its hidden passages to the desolate, militaristic Rockford Island, enhances the game's gothic horror setting. The stark contrast between these settings keeps player on edge, fully immersed in the world steeps in terror. Lastly, how this game connects to the whole franchise and serves as a bridge between them. But more on this later. The things I don't like: the cartoonish and cringe-worthy dialogue. Despite its strength, Code Veronica occasionally slips into the over-the-top and cheesy dialogue. Alfred Ashford's exaggerated speeches sometimes breaks the immersion, making him stand more like a drama club reject than a terrifying villain. Although some improvements were made in the Dark Side Chronicles, but it still feels like he's auditioning for soap opera instead of unleashing bioweapons. Unrealistic moments. Some story elements in Code Veronica can feel as over-the-top as Steve Pernicize's improbable survival skills. Despite being a prisoner with minimal combat experience to none, Steve not only survives, but also aids Claire Redfield in combat situations through the game. His sudden adeptness with firearm and navigation of perilous environments without prior training stretches believability. He literally flew a plane to the Antarctic, which akin to encountering a zombie attempting to recite Shakespeare. This portrayal of Steve's survival abilities adds to the game instances that teeter between genuine horror and intended humor, echoing the bizarre behaviors and obsession exhibited by both characters like Alfred and Steve himself. Additionally, while many fans were dissatisfied with Wesker's portrayal in the game, especially his Matrix-like movement, it's important to remember that he's a freaking bioweapon. His superhuman abilities, though exaggerated, align with his character's evolution within the series. Difficulty and gameplay. Yes. Code Veronica is renowned for its challenging gameplay that demands strategic resources management, intricate puzzle solving, and intense combat in a bad way. The scarcity of essential items like ammo and health supplies heightens tension in every encounter, offering a very unsatisfying survival horror experience. Confusing puzzle designs. Certain puzzles in the game, like the infamous crystal puzzles in the Antarctic base, can be as frustrating as trying to explain Resident Evil's plot to someone who's never played it. The precise timing and placement required are enough to make even a tyrant to a tantrum. It's a puzzle that caused many to rage insanely. Then, why is this game second on my list? Resident Evil Code Veronica secures its place at number 2, not just for its emotional rollercoaster it takes players on, but because of its impact on the series. The game's intricate narrative, challenging gameplay, and immersive atmosphere make it an unforgettable journey. Characters like Claire and Chris Redfield faces unimaginable horror. Their struggle and sacrifices resonate deeply with players. Many have stumbled at the game's difficulty curve, finding themselves frustrated during intense encounters, like the battle with the tyrant on the airplane or the intricate crystal puzzle. Yet those who persevere discover a narrative rich with depth and significance, often labeled as a spin-off. Code Veronica's influence stretches far beyond this cycle. It laid the groundwork for a narrative seen in later Resident Evil games, such as Resident Evil 6. Moreover, its exploration of viral development sets the stage for future iterations, showcasing the evolution of bioweapons and the sinister machination of the Umbrella Corporation. In Code Veronica, we glimpse the vast scope of Umbrella influence, mirroring the grand scale seen in the series' early installments. This game's impact reverberates through later entries like Resident Evil 8, with the gothic designs and the atmospheric settings draw direct inspiration. Furthermore, it deepens the lore surrounding characters like Chris Redfield and Albert Wesker, shaping the bitter conflict between them, a rivalry fueled by personal vendettas and hunting memories, setting the stage for their bitter confrontation in Resident Evil 5. Additionally, Code Veronica's exploration of viral development foreshadows concepts seen in Resident Evil 4 and beyond, underscoring its significance in shaping the series' narrative trajectory. With its dark tone, and probably the darkest in the series, Code Veronica remains an uncrowned title in the franchise, a hidden gem that deserves a new lease on the life through a remake. It stands the test of time, reminding us why we fell in love with Resident Evil in the first place.
T-minus 30 seconds.
The self-destruct system has been activated. All personnel evacuate.
Gone
Still
wrong.
have plenty of ammo. You don't have to worry about holding back. Do you want me to take care of this for you, little boy?
Shut up! I don't want to talk about it!
Steve.
Resident Evil 4.
This game revolutionized not just only the Resident Evil franchise, but the entire survival horror genre. Both the original and its recent remake have left an indelible mark on the gaming world, and it's easy to see why this masterpiece takes the #1 spot. Firstly, I'm gonna compare Resident Evil 4 to other games. In Code Veronica, players traverse diverse locations, but Resident Evil 4 took this to a new heights. From the eerie village to the imposing castle and the hunting island, each locale seems connected, offering an expansive world. For instance, the transitioning from the village, which we can compare to Raccoon City, to the castle, which can be the palace in Code Veronica, after confronting the menaced village chief, highlighted the game's immersive world building. In Code Veronica, players traverse diverse locations, but Resident Evil 4 took this to a new heights. From the eerie village to the imposing castle and the hunting island, each locale seamlessly connected, offering an expansive world. For instance, the transitioning from the village to the castle after confronting the menacing village chief highlights the game's immersive world building. While Code Veronica's story delves into the complex family dynamics and viral mysteries, Resident Evil 4 streamlined its narrative with subplots and character interaction. For example, the relationship between Leon and Ada evolved through subtle interactions, adding depth without overwhelming the main storyline. Resident Evil 2 introduced innovations like the zapping system, but Resident Evil 4 redefined gameplay with its over-the-shoulder perspective. This change enhances player control and immersion, exemplified by the intense village encounter where you fend off waves of enemies with precision, aiming, and strategic positioning. Resident Evil 4 also improved inventory management, allowing players to seamlessly swap weapons and items in real time. Example, giggling weapons during intense battles like the Siege of the Cavern added a layer of strategy and urgency to the gameplay. The original Resident Evil set the standards for spooky atmospheres, which Resident Evil 4 elevate with detailed environments and dynamic light. The eerie ambience of the village, with its fog-shrouded pathways and flickering torches, intensifies the sense of dread, especially during encounters with the chainsaw-wielding Ganados. And compared to Resident Evil 3, character development in Resident Evil 4 mirrored this evolution. Leon's transformation from Rocky Cop to a seasoned agent was evidence in the combat prowess and confidence. Similarly, but better than Jill Valentine's journey from the rookie survival of Resident Evil 1 to the agile operative character in Resident Evil 3, Leon's motives and developments was more impactful than Jill's. The Resident Evil 4 remake isn't just a makeover, it's a resurrection of terror with modern flair, visual and atmospheric upgrades. Imagine stepping into the eerie village at night, where dense fog blankets cobblestone streets and flickering lanterns cast chilling shadows. It's like a horror painting came to life, hauntingly beautiful yet terrifyingly real. Perfect for a family vacation, right? Just make sure to sell your wife jewelry at the merchant. Who wants diamonds when you need firepower?
I'll buy it at a high price.
The remake dives deeper into Leon's and Ada's character, adding a layer of mystery and intrigue. Ada's motives became more enigmatic than a cat running in a laser point factory, keeping players on their toes and invested in every twist. Speaking of lasers, I thought they removed it, but it was there. You got me. She's like a crossboard puzzle in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Never quite what you expect. Improved gameplay mechanics. That was mind-blowing. With refined controls and new elements like stealth and upgraded melee combats, players can now outwit and maneuver enemies with precision. It's like turning zombie dodging into an art form, distracting them with the brains while you make it back to safety. Remember, always aim for the head. No zombie doesn't like that. It is like giving them a headache they didn't ask for. Resource management. The addition of the crafting system means you're not just scavenging for survival, you're crafting your own thing. Mixing herbs and gunpowders is now a strategic dance of life and death, like surviving zombie apocalypse with a day survival kit. They only made crafting easier in real life, right? Boss design and encounters. Prepare for epic battle against towering monstrosities and cunning adversaries where every move counts. It's like a boss rush mode, where the only way out is through, preferably with all your limbs intact. Just think of it as a cardio for embedding zombie apocalypse. Ada's Campaign Edition. Ada's Campaign isn't just an extra chapter. It's a tantalizing peek behind the curtain of intrigue. His shadowy maneuvers and cryptic agendas adds a layer of suspense thicker than Jill's plot armor, leaving you hungry for more answers. It's like trying to unravel mysteries while the zombies are throwing surprise parties all around you. And the ending with Wesker's involvement. The remake's ending doesn't just wrap up loose ends. It ties them into a sinister power of conspiracy and intrigue. Wesker's presence looms like a shadowy puppeteer pulling strings from the shadow, setting the stage for the next act of this twisted saga. If Whiskers were any more mysterious, he'd jot down his villainous strategies in a Resident Evil type retro save ROM. This remake isn't just about nostalgia, it's a chilling journey into the darkness, with fresh thrills and surprises around every corner. It's like finding a new secret passage in a familiar mansion, where danger lurks and revelations await. And remember, in a zombie apocalypse, the real treasure is surviving another day. Why it's number 1? Resident Evil 4 in both the original and the remake form stands as the pinnacle of the survival horror genre. The game's perfect balance of action, horror, and storytelling, combined with the enhancement introduced in the remake, solidified its status as a timeless classic. The Resident Evil 4 remake, with its stunning visuals, refined gameplay, and expanded narrative, surpasses all expectations, setting a new standard for remakes and securing its place as the definitive Resident Evil experience.
I'd like a tasting.
All my wares are in tip-top shape.
Your soul requires cleansing. Needs something robust, precise. Would you recommend anything for the end of the night? Something big, bold.
Good stuff. This is what I'm talking about. Fine work.
And there you have it, my top 10 Resident Evil games. Thanks for sticking with me through this zombie-infested countdown. Remember, surviving in a Resident Evil apocalypse is like trying to avoid spoilers on the internet. Almost impossible, tougher than slipping past a horde of zombies. What do you think about my list? Did I hit the mark, or did I miss a headshot? Let me know in the comments below. I promise I won't bite like those pesky zombies. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more ended content. Before we truly die, till the next time, keep your hips green and inventory organized, and may all your borders be punchable. Stay safe and keep surviving.